Hey guys, welcome back to the Bro Force Squad. This is a special edition. We are doing our spoiler-heavy review of Doctor Strange, the latest installment in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm Jeff Hornacek, hosting today. Alongside me, of course, is our other huge Marvel fan on the show, the mad scientist, Brian Banner. Banner, you literally just got out of the movie, so I guess you have the freshest perspective anyone could possibly have on this film.
Yeah, I literally just got out of it. I had a prior engagement, so I think this is the first MCU movie that I haven't seen opening night. And trying for 12 hours to stay away from spoilers or anything like that was probably one of the toughest 12 hours of my life. So we saw it at 11 o'clock in the morning Saturday, and it is now 1:30. I got out of it like 25 minutes ago. This is probably the rawest review I'm ever going to do.
Yeah, which is good. I want your very fresh opinion on it. I saw it last night. Geiger and I did our non-spoilers review, so we had to hold back a little bit. But if you're listening to this and you haven't seen the movie, we're going to spoil pretty much the whole thing. So if you're a disgusting person, keep listening. Otherwise, go check out our non-spoiler review. But let's just get right into it. Your initial thoughts having just saw it. Give me, like, on a whole what you thought, and then we can sort of dive into all the kind of the nitty-gritty here in the next couple minutes.
As a whole, I liked it. It was visually, it's probably one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life. I thought it was a real good mix of, like, Inception, as far as the worlds falling on top of each other and moving time and space around. Harry Potter, kind of relating to how they cast the spells, and then when the Ancient One and she kind of brings up her little shields and stuff.
Yeah,
and then a little bit
cool.
of Donnie Darko with like the mirror room. I thought it molded all of those together really, really well. Visually, just knocked it out of the park. It also kind of reminded me of I don't go and see a whole lot of 3D movies anymore because they're not really there. This is one that I felt like I had to go see in 3D, and it brought me back to kind of the first real 3D movie I've ever seen, which I think was Avatar. It was like, this is fucking cool.
Yeah, you're like, this is why 3D was made, for movies like this.
Yeah, it wasn't made for movies like Alice in Wonderland.
Or Step Up to the Streets.
Well, let's pump the brakes on that. It was definitely up there, and it was fantastic. What were your thoughts?
Yeah,
now it's kind of settled in a little.
I think that's the one common denominator you're going to get from everyone who sees this movie, whether you loved it or liked it or wasn't a huge fan of it. Visually, you really can't deny how great it was. Scott Derrickson pulled off something incredible here. The only other movie I can relate to this, and they weren't the same visually, but a movie that was just so breathtaking in terms of what you were looking at on the screen, was Tron Legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a movie that did it all with much different color palettes and was kind of more designed for IMAX 3D. This one just seemed like they had a very concrete idea of what they wanted to do in terms of kind of a mind-bending type of visual experience, and they fucking crushed that. So, yeah, visually loved it. I thought the score was great, too, which I know you and I are big fans of, or big proponents of the score.
Huge score fan. The score was up there. One of the things Thor Dark World has going for it is the score.
Yes.
And I thought this was up there with that. The soundtrack, you could
except for Single Ladies by Beyonce, the rest of it I could do without.
That's true. That was a great scene with Wong too. Fantastic scene. Kind of diving into a little character here. Hornacek, what was your favorite character, obviously besides Doctor Strange himself?
Oh man, that one's tough.
We didn't rehearse that. Sorry.
No, that's fine. So here's the thing. This movie is all about characters changing and developing. I think almost every character, with the exception of Caecilius in it, whether it's Strange, Mordo, even the Ancient One, ends up having some turn or some sort of reveal or something different that happens to them throughout the film. Carl Mordo, or more commonly known as Baron Mordo in the comics, I really enjoyed in this film. I thought Chiwetel Ejiofor did an awesome job. But the one thing that, like, when he was Carl Mordo in the beginning, was really selling the relationship with the Ancient One and his loyalty to Kamar-Taj and everything they were teaching. But his turn seemed a little hollow to me in a weird way. Maybe because we don't fully know his motivations yet.
It was a little forced.
Right. I was hoping it would more so be he would be very resentful of the attention the Ancient One was giving Strange, and he would want to be the Sorcerer Supreme. Granted, it's kind of cool that they stayed away from what could have been an obvious trope right there, but he really just seemed to get upset for like no reason. They saved the world. The Ancient One, what she did was worked, and it was right. I just didn't really understand why he was like whining so much. So
Yeah, I think he was just butthurt because it wasn't his idea.
that's what it seemed like. Like he didn't come up with it.
I would have liked, obviously, and we'll get into this a little bit with the end credit scene. I would have liked to see him be. He's going to be the villain in the next Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah, for sure.
I would have liked to see him be the villain in a third Doctor Strange movie, and you have that turn happen over the course of a movie. Which I know character development, you have movies we're spoiled with Netflix where we get to develop these characters like that. But I feel like that wouldn't have been that hard of a thing to do.
And I don't think he's straight up like a villain right away, because even at the end when he took Paragon's ability to walk, it almost sounded like Paragon has done some fucked up stuff too. You know, it's not like it didn't seem like
there's something going on there.
Right. It didn't seem like he just walked up to some innocent dude and was like, "Hey, you're paralyzed again." So he was probably my favorite character. Who was your favorite character in the movie, aside from Strange, obviously, because he's the one who gets 90% of the screen time here?
I'm going to go a little outside the box here, and this is going back to, if you guys listen to our pre-Doctor Strange expectation episode, the Cloak of Levitation. I said on that, I hope that they make the Cloak of Levitation its own character, and they did, and I loved it. I love that he was the comic relief when he was holding him back from getting the axe.
Did you just assume awesome. The Cloak of Levitation's gender?
Yeah, I did.
Sorry, continue. You're on a roll.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. A woman's not going to get on Strange's back like that.
That is true. No, but I think you made a good analogy off air that it was very much like the magic carpet in Aladdin, and I think that was kind of their inspiration in some ways.
Yeah, it was a lot like that. And then again, that's where we got a decent amount of our comic relief, which we know Marvel does so well, with wiping the tears from Strange's eyes. That was cute. And then obviously when he was holding him back to get the little cage thing to hold Caecilius, and he's just like running in place. I know my wife loved that part, and I had to agree. Yeah. It was really, really funny. And I like to see that development between his relic and how he came to get that relic, and how their relationship and his power with the Cloak of Levitation is going to continue to grow over the course of these next few movies.
Now let's get into, because we're kind of just going rapid fire here, something that you didn't necessarily like about the movie. If you don't know yours, I can go, but...
No, I've got mine, and it's probably going to be similar to yours, maybe. I don't know. I can't read your mind. And it's a common thing with the MCU. Caecilius was weak, man.
He was.
The villains in the MCU have always really been weak, and they didn't... His main motivation is his wife and his child died. They, referenced it. So if you didn't know that that's why, you wouldn't know that that's why.
The problem is...
And I didn't really like that.
In the comics, when they first announced Caecilius as his villain, we all knew Dormammu would be in the background because he is a huge villain of his and Ghost Rider's and is someone who has to be on the periphery here. But when they announced Caecilius was the villain, in the comics, and again, I am not an expert on Doctor Strange comics, but I do know that Caecilius being the villain in a Doctor Strange comic would be the equivalent of Clayface being the villain in a Batman comic. He's way down in his list of rogues gallery, which is fine. That doesn't necessarily make it a bad choice.
It's an origin movie.
Sure,
you're not gonna come out guns a-blazing with the villains in an origin movie.
Exactly, but the thing
unless you're Captain America.
Confusing to me was exactly like you said. Caecilius has a great backstory and a great reason for doing what he does. He comes to Kamar-Taj because he lost his wife and his child. And he basically wants to know why this happened to him. Why did the world do this to him? And is there anything he can do to bring them back or see them again spiritually? And then as he learns that the Ancient One is holding out on them with a lot of the things that, in the comics, obviously it's a man, but that the Ancient One knows, that's when he gets upset and attempts to summon Dormammu to get this power. In the movies, they skipped all of the cool stuff, and literally the opening scene is just him taking the page out of the book. It's cool when he cut that dude's head off, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it.
But we miss all the actual meat and potatoes of him as a villain. He's very, like Marvel tends to do with a lot of their villains, he's very cardboard, he's very one dimensional, he's very one note. And granted, Mads Mikkelsen, while he's a very scary and intimidating actor, he's probably not a guy that's going to give you a lot of depth as a character, but he can definitely play a dark villain. They made him intimidating, so that part wasn't. It wasn't like he was like stupid and you weren't afraid of him when he was on screen necessarily. But again, this is a recurring problem, and they really need to fix this with Thanos, I think.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that Caecilius is the worst villain in the MCU by far, but it was a weaker point in the movie that I think that it wouldn't have been hard to do that. You could have just added an extra 2-minute scene of showing his wife and child die.
Exactly.
Then him traveling to meet the Ancient One,
Yeah.
and then some sort of argument. Just have music over it. You don't even have to have dialogue for that between him and the Ancient One, and then immediately cut into him stealing the pages in the book. It would have taken an extra 90 seconds, maybe 120 seconds in the movie, and it would have been fine.
And again, like we always keep saying, this is Strange's origin story. So at the end of the day, we get it. He's the focus. But this is a movie in 2 or 3 years, people are going to probably not even remember who the villain was. They'll remember Stephen Strange because Cumberbatch was awesome. But they're probably not even going to remember who the bad guy was in it. And that, it didn't ruin the movie for me at all. I still thought it was a very good movie. But that's something Marvel doesn't really seem too interested in doing in their films, is developing a villain. So
I agree. What was something that you didn't necessarily like in this movie, Jeff?
Well, that was it, was Caecilius. That was,
yeah, I thought I was going to steal it from you.
yeah. I know we both kind of just doubled down on that one. So, because besides that, most of it worked. I understand that a lot of people, especially Geiger, feel that the humor is sometimes misplaced in Marvel movies, but all these superhero movies throw in moments of levity. Even BVS in the big climax of the entire film, there's the "I thought she was with you" line. So,
yeah.
All these movies do that. It really is just to make the movie more enjoyable for the average fan who may not want to be as invested in the stakes of paradimensional battle with a
Yeah, I mean they got pretty deep in the mystic arts where if you didn't understand it, you're not going to understand it. But if you don't understand it, you're still going to enjoy the movie, right. Which I thought they did a real good job of doing. Being that it was such a confusing and it's kind of a hard concept to grab.
So I had 2 quick things I wanted to get to with you. So the first is we get this. I believe the second to last Infinity Stone. We still don't have the Soul Stone. But we get the Time Stone, which is obviously the Eye of Agamotto in this movie. Did you like the way they put that in? Did you feel like it fit with the story? Or did you feel like they were sort of kind of pushing us towards Infinity War too hard? What were your thoughts on that?
Honestly, I didn't feel like they were pushing us towards Infinity Wars until that last scene when he's talking with Wong, right. And he references Infinity Stones, and Strange's like, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "Exactly." So, I liked how they did it. Because, again, if you didn't know, you wouldn't know until they told you. And it's going to tie it all in very, very well. It didn't feel forced at all.
I totally agree. I think we all expect... I actually would have been more shocked if we didn't get an Infinity Stone in this movie. So that all makes perfect sense to me. I like the way Marvel did it. It did not feel like it was being shoehorned into Infinity War at all. Like you said, until the very end with Wong, you really wouldn't have even have known, unless you were a complete loser like me, that it was an Infinity Stone. And then the other thing I want to ask about are the post-credit scenes. There was 2. There was a mid-credit scene with, obviously, Thor, and then there was the after-credit scene that we kind of referenced earlier with Mordo taking back Paragon's powers. What were your thoughts on those? Marvel at this point has almost become a victim of their own success here. These have been so good in the past that I think our expectations are just insanely high every time the movie ends for what we're going to see.
Yeah, I think you nailed it right there. For me, honestly, they were kind of weak. It was cool because I didn't know that Strange was going to be in Ragnarok. I'm not sure how I didn't know, but I didn't know that. So that was kind of cool, I guess. But at the same time, like, it wasn't that big shocking reveal. I was like, oh, well, that's cool. Like, and it kind of makes sense if I think about it. And then at the end with the end credit scene and Mordo coming and taking what's his name, Paragon's powers. Yeah, it was cool because I feel like they're trying to develop that character for the next one, but because of Marvel's track record with villains, I just don't think they're gonna do it good. And I would have liked to see them tie it to Thanos or Infinity Wars, or hell, even give me something with fucking Spider-Man. I don't give a shit.
That would have been cool.
Or maybe even Guardians, to be honest with you. Like they tied it to a movie that isn't a movie yet.
Right.
And I think that was something that was a risk that they haven't really taken yet. And I don't know that they should have. What were your thoughts on them?
So I felt like you did right when I left. I did end up reading later that Taika Waititi, the director of Thor Ragnarok, did say that the scene that was shown as the post-credit scene, he filmed. Scott Derrickson didn't film it, and that it is in Thor Ragnarok. So kind of similar to what we got at the end of Ant-Man, where it was an actual scene from Civil War. I kind of at least appreciate that part of it because they're connecting a movie with a tease that we know is actually in the film. And now we can get excited that Doctor Strange will at least have some small role in Thor Ragnarok. I'm where you are. I'm very, very excited about Infinity War, obviously, as a Marvel fan. Like, I cannot fucking wait for that movie. So at this point, I almost need, for the next 4 Marvel movies, I believe, that come out before maybe 3 that come out before Infinity War. I need... 2 next summer.
Yeah, you got 2 next summer, and then you got Spider-Man. Or we have Spider-Man, Thor, Ragnarok, Guardians.
Not in that order.
And then
Infinity
that's
War.
It, right?
Yeah.
And then Infinity Wars.
At this point, I need some Thanos tease at the end of every movie because, like, unless we're gonna spend the first hour of that film him collecting all the stones from the different places, whether it's the Collector or the Nova Corps or Odin's Vault. I mean, like. All that is, unless they want to do it in like a montage with 80s rock music, is going to take a long time. So I would have liked something like that. The Mordo thing, again, I pretty much knew it was coming, but like you said, until they do villains right, like just maybe stop doing this. Last thing we'll do before we let everybody go, really simply, give it your score out of 10. I gave it...
I actually got one thing for you.
Please.
I know that we said we were going to cut it, but I decided I didn't want to cut it. As far as MCU origin stories go, where do you rank it?
Just origin stories?
Just origin stories, not the whole MCU. That's a whole nother conversation. We've got, let's go Iron Man, Guardians, obviously Doctor Strange, Captain America, Ant-Man.
And Thor.
Let's go those 6.
Yeah, because I believe in Edward Norton's Incredible Hulk, the movie already starts, he's become the Hulk, and he's just on the run, so that probably isn't technically an origin story. Mm-hmm. So I'll rank my origin stories like this. Iron Man 1, Guardians of the Galaxy. I know it's technically a team assembling, but it's the first time we meet all those characters, unlike the Avengers. I'll go Doctor Strange 3, Captain America 4, Thor 5, and then what, Ant-Man 6?
Ant-Man 6?
Yeah.
I'm going to go Guardians 1, Iron Man 2. Not Iron Man 2. Iron Man is number 2.
Yeah, I got Iron Man, 2.
Yeah. Doctor Strange 3, and then probably Captain America, Ant-Man, and Thor. That's 6? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, granted,
so we're both in the same... It's middle of the pack as far as origin stories go, but the 2 that are ahead of it are pretty fucking good.
Yeah, I liked all those movies. That's not an indictment, but when you put a list together, someone's got to be last.
Yeah.
So...
And that's where Geiger comes into play.
Exactly.
All right, Jeff, overall score, what you got?
So I gave it a 7 out of 10 yesterday. Going to keep it at a 7 out of 10. It's a movie you should definitely see. It's not a movie you're going to watch probably more than once in the theaters, but it's a good Marvel movie. They did not miss with this one, which there was definitely potential there. I enjoyed it a lot. Great performances. It furthered the story, had some nice little Easter eggs. And I think at the end of the day, when we're looking back at the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we'll be glad we got a Doctor Strange movie. So, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm giving it a 7.8 out of 10. Kind of in that B-plus realm. I don't think they hit it out of the park, but they definitely didn't miss. It's a good movie. Like you said, it continues the story on. It keeps us guessing, and Marvel just keeps on delivering. And until they fail, they're top of the food chain, and everybody should go see it. And it's just another dimension. It's just another tool Marvel has in their back pocket now, all leading up to what we can only assume to be the greatest ensemble movie ever in Infinity Wars.
Yeah. Second to step up to the streets, you mean, when they assemble all the dance crews.
Okay, and I think we're done. Guys, visit us on Facebook, Bro4 Squad, 3 words. At Bro4 Squad on Twitter, www.bro4squad.com. Check us out on YouTube. We've got all our movie commentaries, all of our episodes, all of our content can be found there. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Till next time, we are out. I can't believe you're still on freaking Step Up 2.
It's the best.
Are you kidding me? It's terrible.
No, I'm not kidding.